Hey everyone, ahlan wa sahlan fikum and welcome back to Learn Palestinian Arabic, the go-to channel for learning the Palestinian dialect of spoken Arabic. For those of you who are new to the channel, we don't just talk about Palestinian Arabic, sometimes we just talk about Arabic or language learning in general, and sometimes we just talk about Palestine in general too. So today's video is of the second kind. It's really just a quick thinking out loud kind of vlog in response to some comments I've gotten over the years. I'm really curious how you guys think about this issue, so I figured why not start a conversation about it. Basically, it's about why I always refer to Palestine as, well, Palestine, and I never say Israel, even when I'm talking about like Tel Aviv or something, which I would say is located in Palestine. Some of you may agree with that already, but many others may be perplexed or think I'm trying too hard to make a statement. First of all, let me say that for me, saying Palestine in reference to the entire territory claimed by the state of Israel is just second nature. I really don't overthink it at all. Like one time a casually progressive girl told me she loves how confidently I say Palestine, which genuinely made me laugh. Like saying Palestine barely registers to me as a political statement, even though I guess to most people it probably would. And the reason for that is basically the issue at hand. Most people would probably think that Israel is the neutral term, while saying Palestine all the time is politically charged. But for me it's the other way around. When someone says Israel to me, I honestly gasp a little. It comes across as very politically charged and crypto-fascistic, like someone calling undocumented migrants illegals. But how can Palestine, a reference to a political entity that only barely technically exists, be more neutral? I've heard tons of people tell me that I live in a fantasy world and that avoiding the term Israel is delusional because the state of Israel clearly exists and it's on the map and it's internationally recognized. While the same is hardly true of Palestine, so I should just accept reality. Yes, reality. Sorry, but my background is actually in anthropology, so if there's anything I've learned over the years, it's that thinking there's just a single reality that can only be known by objective means is not just completely delusional, but thinking that so-called objectivity is at all neutral is comically ideological. I think it's Althusser who said that the deeper one is steeped in ideology, the more real, objective, and non-ideological that worldview seems. So we can't just take the international status quo as our epistemological starting point. In reality, neither Israel nor Palestine objectively exist. All countries are just spatial imaginaries held by particular communities regarding the land they live in, would like to live in, or think they belong in. In the case of Palestine, it's the name currently adopted by the indigenous population of the territory. The name itself represents the continuity of history, as the territory has been known as Palestine for thousands of years. In the case of Israel, it's a notion invented by Zionist nationalists that today denotes a settler colonial project that intends to erase any competing alternative reality, namely Palestine, from the land. Indeed, the very existence of Israel is actually so tenuous that it must be enforced on the ground by military power, protected diplomatically by the United States, and reified internationally via propaganda campaigns. And that's why I think of any map, or anything, that has the word Israel on it as not just inherently ideological, all maps are ideological, but oftentimes intentionally propagandistic, reifying a colonizing discourse over an indigenous one and rationalizing it by claiming objectivity. It's this propaganda that has normalized not just the existence of Israel, but its right to exist, all the while making the term Israel seem perfectly neutral and acceptable to use. By the way, I'm not saying this imaginary has no physical reality. Tel Aviv is there, the wall is there, and there's a community of millions that goes by the name Israelis. My point, rather, is that for the most part, these realities don't have any inherent meaning until they're situated within the semantic network of Israel and are thereby given a particular meaning and function. This is what transforms innocent human beings, born as citizens of the Israeli state against their will, into militants that push forward the state's ethnic cleansing project. In fact, the only time I ever use the word Israel is specifically in reference to that project. Not Israel as in the totally existing country, but the state of Israel, the institution and project that goes by the name of Israel, which is situated in Palestine. Of course, Palestine is itself a spatial imaginary. In a sense, it's no more real than Israel. So it's not that Palestine is the correct term, but that the term Israel is not in any way more objective or neutral. On the contrary, uncritically and unthinkingly using the term Israel to refer to all or any part of Palestine tacitly favors the status quo that allows for the ethnic cleansing of the indigenous inhabitants of the territory, in whose worldview the territory is Palestine. So that's pretty much what I had to say. This topic is really interesting to me because it demonstrates the significance of the terms we often use unthinkingly and the importance of thinking carefully about what we mean by what we say. Let me know what you think in the comments, especially if you disagree. My videos could really use the engagement. And with that, I'll leave you until next time.